God. Going too fast. I'm taking 3.
I'm going for the St. Louis now.
Oh, no.
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we are taking a look at a battle in my Admiral Hipper on Tears of the Desert. Now, I'm showing this battle because you can see here in the matchmaking, this is a tier 10 battle, right? And this happens all too often, I find, with tier 8s, is that you get thrown into tier 10 battles. So, we're showing the video just to take a look at how maybe you can try to mitigate some of the odds that are against you in terms of playing against tier 10 ships in your tier 8 ships. Now, not such a problem if you're in a destroyer, right? We know that. But specifically in cruisers, this can be an issue. I still find a lot of... I mean, I love cruisers. I'm a cruiser captain in the game. If you want the best out of me in ships, I'm going to be in a cruiser. It'll depend on what tier that we want to play on, but I'm going to be in a cruiser. I love cruisers. I'm a cruiser captain. But cruisers have a lot of negative rap in this game, and it's because they just aren't as durable as a battleship, obviously, and for that reason, you have to play a whole lot differently in a cruiser than you would in a battleship. You need to take things into mind, like hit point conservation and positioning and cover, and taking shots off that are opportunistic for you. So there's a lot of difference in playing in your cruisers, and especially when you get in a battle like this. So I'm in the Hipper. I mean, this is a great tier 8 cruiser. She's my favorite tier 8 cruiser at this time. Again, I haven't played the tier 8 Russian cruiser, so I'm not using that in my comparison. And this is obviously after the patch. We can see the enhancements to the minimap there, and we can see the enhancements to the Admiral Hipper. So the Hipper finally has her Atlantic bow. Now, the reason why the Hipper had the Atlantic bow was during sea trials, when the Hipper class cruiser was first brought out into sea trials. And you brought it out in the North Sea, and the weather out there can be quite bad, so you got some rough seas. Well, basically what was happening was the waves were cresting over the bow of the ship, and they were flooding the number 1 turret there. So the number 1 turret was essentially useless because it was flooded. So to prevent this, the Germans, or the Kriegsmarine, just simply added an Atlantic bow, which basically just swoops up the tip of the ship there a little, so it deflects the water away from the front of the ship and keeps it out of that number 1 turret. Now, another cosmetic change here that was added is the Atlantic funnel. You can see the Atlantic funnel there kind of dips back a little. This was for a number of reasons, mostly just to make sure that during rough seas and rough weather, strong winds, that the exhaust of the ship would still be funneled to the rear of the ship, because you don't want that exhaust coming in and clogging up the bridge, right, and the main tower of the ship there. So they added those improvements, and cosmetically here in ships we now have it, and it's nice. I enjoy the way the Hipper looks now. I enjoyed the way the Hipper looked before. It's just now she looks a little more badass. So, getting back into the battle, you can see the majority of my team did decide to go towards the western side of the map, and they're southwest at this point in time. So again, you're in a tier 8 cruiser. We've got a tier 10 battle taking place. I'm not going off my own. I'm not going to go off with a few other allied ships. I'm sticking with the main force of my allied ships, and I'm not going to cling right next to them, right? You can see I'm turning away from them right now as I'm firing at this other enemy Hipper. But I'm not just going to sail away from them either. I want to make sure that I'm close enough that, one, I can support them, but more importantly, that they could still potentially support me as well. And a nice sort of side as to what I'm doing here is I'm just sort of screening the main force from any enemy destroyers that might decide to come from the east down towards the south into our base, right? So there's that as well. And I'm being cautious not to start duking it out with large numbers of enemy ships who are higher tier than I, right? Don't want that to happen. Now, this battle as well, you'll see at the end of the battle, right? It doesn't really amount to a whole lot for me. I'm not top of the team. I didn't do the most damage. I didn't get the most kills. None of that stuff. We do still win the battle, and I survived the battle. But generally speaking, those are the results that you can expect when you are in these higher tier battles and you're just trying to stay alive. You're not going to consistently be top of the team. Now, I definitely have had battles where I'm in my tier 8. Specifically, I can think of one, I've showed it on the channel, where I am in the Hipper, and it was a tier 9-10 game, and I just destroyed. I think I took out 2 Iowas in that game. It was insane, and it was a really good game. But that does not happen very often. What we're seeing here is more along the lines of what you can expect happening if you're paying attention to the battle and what's taking place around you. So off in the distance we have a few battleships. So I'm not looking to tangle with them. Now I do know one of the battleships is a Tirpitz, so same tier as me. But the Tirpitz is obviously has more armor, more firepower than my Hipper. So we're at pretty decent range. There was cover involved, so I'm not going to take any shots off. But I do see this enemy destroyer. I have our high explosive loaded and ready to go. So I'm just going to immediately start engaging the allied destroyer, the enemy destroyer here. I think it's a Fletcher, but as you know, I'm not so great at saying what type of ship they are. Again, my little preview window here when I'm doing the audio recording isn't fantastic, because it's not the size on the monitor. What it is in the preview window, it's not in high definition, so it's squiggly. I can't actually make out the name of the ship. I'm going on silhouettes here. Is what I'm doing, is how I'm determining or trying to guess what ship it is. So that's why it's just not in high definition before I actually render it up to 60 frames per second, right? I could render it to 60 frames per second and then do my audio recording, but that's going to double the time it takes me to do the video, and I don't have time for that. So this is what we get. Anyway, grouping up now with the rear force of my allies. You can see that my main force, my allies here ahead of me, these are the spearhead, basically, right? And I'm not looking to get involved with the spearhead action just yet. I'm going to let them do a bit more damage to the enemy ships. I'm going to let them spot a few more enemy ships and let the enemy ships start focusing on them. At least that was the plan. And then I start spotting these enemies here who are pushing down from the east to the south into our base. And this is exactly why I was staying behind the main push of my allies. I wanted to mitigate against this sort of situation. Now, the enemy ships who are on the way to our base, there's a lot of them. And they are, battleships and higher tier than I am, so I'm not going to be able to face these guys head on and to blunt their advance too much. But what I can do is I can buy time for my team. I can buy time for my team to have some more of our ships come back towards the base and help defend it, right? That is the hope. Now, again, it's not always going to happen, but that is the hope, and I get lucky in that, I do have some allied ships who are coming back to help me out. So this is good, so I can team up with my allies, and we can start dealing with some of these enemy ships. So you can see some of them popping up, right? At least 2 battleships, so this is going to be a bit of an issue here for me to deal with. I am making use of cover, though, to try and close the distance between myself and these enemy ships. My idea and my plan here is to launch torpedoes. I need to get within 6 kilometers in order to launch those torpedoes, but that's sort of my plan at this point in time. So we're going to take a look, see if I can't get a little closer to this enemy battleship, maybe launch off some torpedoes, maybe do a bit of damage, and maybe take down this enemy ship. That's a lot of maybes, I know. So we have to really be careful here. Now you can see the enemy battleship is out of my torpedo range. I really wanted to start torping this guy, but then I start taking shots from enemy ships that are closer to the base, or to their base. So I have to turn and get out. So I'm going to launch my torpedoes. I know that the indicator said that they were not going to hit, but I'm launching them just in case. If the enemy battleship decides to maybe go forward at a higher rate of speed, those shots will be there. Now we have a Yamato. So obviously my Admiral Hipper is not going to be able to do a whole lot against this Yamato. What I can do is I can do damage consistently over time with my armor piercing, because of the armor piercing value of the Hipper shells, but I'm not going to be able to take on a Yamato head on. We do have an Iowa off in the distance as well, and we still have that same Hipper back there as well, so again, I'm not going to be able to take on the Iowa on my own, so just continue my turn and get myself out of here. The enemies are capping our base, but we don't need to panic just yet. We, hold our composure here. I'm taking damage, I'm down to about a quarter health, but we can see that I do have some allies who are in and around my base who are also helping to defend. So this is great. Now I just need to stay supporting my allies in hopes that we can get these enemy ships gone. So we still have the Yamato, so we're going to put shots off. Is it the Yamato? No, I think that's an Iowa. The Yamato's off in the distance. But anyway, we're going to put some shots off into the enemy battleship. Now, this, is really where you want to start paying attention to the fact that you're in a tier 8 ship and you're facing off against tier 9s, tier 10s that can basically look at you and kill you, especially with the amount of hit points I have remaining. So we really want to make use of cover at this point in time, and what we want to have happen as well is we do not want to be the center of attention of these enemy ships. You can see I have ally ships around me. The ally ships around me are higher tier, they have more hit points, it's not unfair, it's just logical. I want those ally ships, the ally ships I have helping me defend the base, I want them to be the center of attention of the enemy. In the meantime, I'm just going to shoot off some sneaky shots at the enemy. That is what I'm hoping to do here. I'm not looking to do big amounts of damage and, take big chances and put myself out there. No. Even if I was on 100% health at this point in time, I'd still be doing the same thing. Because, even though I'm at 100% health, we're facing off against some pretty heavy ships here. I know the Iowa is almost gone, but we still have the Yamato to deal with. And he can look at me and kill me even if I'm at 100% health. So, just not willing to do that. So you can see I do have friendly Tirpitz who's out front taking the brunt of the enemy attack at this point in time. Good and bad. I mean, it's good that I'm not being fired at. It's bad though because we kind of need the Tirpitz to stay alive to help with the defense here. The main target is going to be the Yamato. We do have the someone said on the channel how to pronounce it. Knowing me though, it's not even the Des Moines. So Des Moines, yeah, because the S in the DES is silent and the S at the end of Moines is silent, so Des Moines. So I've got the Des Moines over there. Now, knowing me, it's probably Baltimore, but whatever, we've got a Des Moines over there that we need to keep in mind, who is actually capping our base, but I'm still going to be focused on the Yamato for now anyway, trying to help out with the Yamato. Because you can see, up until this point, the Des Moines wasn't giving me a broadside. Now the Des Moines is giving me a broadside, so switch over to the Des Moines, launch shots off at her. So we're just lining up on the Des Moines here now, and shots are away. So hopefully those are going to do a bit of damage, but the angle isn't really that great, and yeah, did a bit of damage, but basically bounced off mostly. But I mean, the main objective there was to reset the cap, which we did accomplish. So that's okay. So more shots go out into the Des Moines, and you can see, the Des Moines again is continuing to give me a nice broadside. I just did about 7,000 damage there in that salvo, so that is not too bad at all. But the Des Moines is now turning into me, and they just sunk another one of my allies, so that really sucks. Des Moines again is turning away from me, presenting a nice broadside, so I'm just going to keep this up right now. I'm just going to keep focusing on the Des Moines as much as I possibly can, get the player down, and then switch back over to the Yamato. Now I still have the Yamato in the back of my mind, but the Yamato wasn't taking shots off at me, so I got pretty lucky here. We still have our Tirpitz alive. We can see the Tirpitz over there, and we did see or catch a quick glimpse of another friendly battleship off with us as well, so fantastic. So the Des Moines is gone. We don't need to worry about her anymore. We can continue to engage the Yamato, see if we can't do a little more damage to this player, get this ship gone, because this Yamato is a pretty big threat. There we go, one of my allies, an ally in a battleship nonetheless, just took out the Des Moines, the Yamato, so fantastic. Don't need to worry about the Yamato. In the meantime, while we're waiting for this third enemy ship to chug along over to us here, you can see that my allies up in the enemy base have begun capping. So this is fantastic. And again, bringing it back to, you're in a tier 8 ship and you're playing in a tier 10 battle, this is really an ideal situation for you here. Like I said, I didn't want to be part of the spearhead didn't want to do it. I was playing the rear guard action the entire time to make sure that I stay alive and that I'm helping the team as much as I possibly can, right? So this is what I'm doing and this is my objective, and it's working out quite well for me. Now I'm doing this again though, keep in mind, because I'm in a cruiser. If I was in a battleship, like if I was in the Tirpitz for example, this would probably be a completely different strategy. I probably would have went with the spearhead, with my allies who were on that spearhead. Or, you know, I would have came back and defended and maybe been a little more aggressive with the defense. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. We're talking cruisers here, because I know especially in your tier 8 cruisers, and we mentioned it at the beginning of the battle, this happens all the time where you get into higher tier battles. And it's just important to know, I guess, how to approach that situation, right? Because it's not something that we're going to be able to change in the game. I mean, it's not going to happen. Unless Wargaming changes the spread of the tier spread in matchmaking, which I really don't think is going to happen, at least anytime soon, these situations are going to happen. There's nothing we can do to stop it, so we may as well figure out how to actually survive in these situations. That's what I'm hoping to do here with the video anyway. So you can see, I mean, I'm disengaged from the enemy battleship. I have the advantage here in that I've got a lot of my ally ships in and around me to help support me, so this is fantastic. So I'm basically just working my way around the island to get shots in at the enemy battleship from a different angle. Advantage here too is breaking line of sight. The enemy battleship can't see me, or at least can't fire at me at this point in time. So if the enemy battleship were to survive by the time I get out from the cover here, you know, this battleship would be focused on someone else, another player, not focused on me, right? Because you know, the player would have to turn their guns all the way around to try and get them on me. So it's really, really advantageous for you to do something like this. You know, break line of sight, break contact, and maybe swing around if possible using cover, swing around and attack from a different direction. And in the meantime, the enemy ship that you're doing these maneuvers around is going to find another one of your allies to focus on that won't be you, and hopefully the ally that they decide to focus on has the hit points to to take those hits. Anyway, enemy battleship is gone. We only have one enemy ship remaining. It's the enemy aircraft carrier. So victory is ours, basically. We just need to wait, and there we go, victory. So fantastic. We'll take a look at the results here. Now this was obviously played right after they released the latest patch, so Aslan's was not installed, so we didn't have our damage counter there. But you can see, I only managed 40,000 damage. I guess it's respectable, but it's really low for me anyway. And you can see I'm right middle of the pack. This is where I want to be, actually, in these tier 10 battles when I'm in a lower tier ship or a lower tier cruiser, is middle of the pack. I'm not necessarily looking to be on the top. You can see though, even though I'm middle of the pack, I do walk away with a decent amount of experience and, you know, over 100,000 credits, which is always nice because still saving for the old Hindenburg here. Now I know that the ranked battles are in ships at this point in time. I have played a few of them. I got fairly frustrated with it and just put it down. Hearts of Iron came out. I'm playing Hearts of Iron all week. I'm going to pick up ships this weekend actually and try and get my ranks up, or at least do some battles. Anyway, do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit I think I already said the like thing, didn't I? Whatever. Hit subscribe if you're not a subscriber. As always, folks, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.